how to find the perfect house in Keller, Texas. That is on our mission board today. That's what we're going to accomplish. We're going to look at the city of Keller. We're going to look at different areas in the city, but more importantly, we're going to be focused in on the real estate in Keller. We're going to see what it's actually going to take for us to find that perfect house. So we're going to go into the real estate available from least expensive to most expensive. We're going to look at a few properties, and we're going to do a deep dive on one property in particular so we can actually run some numbers behind it, so we know what our monthly mortgage payment is going to be, and look at different financing options that are going to help us purchase that ideal home. So let's get right into it. Keller, Texas is on the horizon right now. So let me share my screen real quick. And let's get going. Now, just like most home searches, it begins in the online portal. So if you're on Zillow, stay on Zillow. That's okay. If you're on Realtor, if you prefer that particular layout, that's fine as well. But if you're not married to a IDX site or a online portal per se, check out our website, which is linked down below, JaimeResendiz.exprealty.com, which will give you direct access to the MLS at no cost to you. This will allow you to get the most accurate information of the homes that actually are on the market and have not gone under contract, like you're going to find with other online portals out there. So let's get into this. Let's find out what the heck is going on in Keller, check out the real estate, and get moving and grooving. So right out of the gate, we see a few things. We see that there's 182 properties available for sale in Keller at the average price point of $915. So what does that tell us? Well, it tells us that this is a bit more expensive than many other cities in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So Keller, Texas, we'll compare it to its neighbors just to give you an idea of what type of real estate to expect in the city of Keller. So first off, we're going to remove all the condos, leases, commercial, land, farm and ranch, and all that fun stuff. And we're going to stick to single family residences before we start our search. So let's click search and start finding out what we need to see. So here we have 125 homes available for sale in Keller right now. They're single family. And if this is the first time you're hearing about Keller, here's a few details. Well, for one, it is centrally located, as you can see here it's more on the Tarrant side of things. So central would be Coppell, Carrollton, in that area. However, when you're looking at the Tarrant side of things, you're right in the thick of things whenever you're looking at Keller, Texas. It's northeast of Fort Worth, and Keller is a destination city, or at least that's what we call it here. So destination city means to us cities that you work to live in. Like, you work so you can live there at some point. You work so you move up in your career, you progress in your career, and ultimately you want to live in this city. This is not a transitory city where you're finding the least expensive property and then just trying to move on to another city. This is where a lot of folks actually want to move to, because it has incredible schools, it has incredible amenities, it has restaurants, it has that recreation scene. It really has some of the finest real estate that you're ever going to find. My ear just started ringing for no reason. Sorry. What's that about? Wow. Okay, maybe it's all these live streams that I've been doing lately. Something's going on with my left ear. So if I collapse, call the doc. All right, so let's talk about the neighbors. Westlake, at one point, and I don't know if this is still correct, so fact check me on this. At one point, Westlake actually had the most expensive zip code in the entire country. So that gives you an idea of the type of area that we're talking about. So it has some very incredible neighbors, and Keller holds its own as well. Don't just think that, oh, well, the grass is greener on the other side. In this particular case, I would argue that it's right around the same amount of green, except the real estate prices in Westlake are a little bit more expensive, just to kind of cap off that conversation. So we have Westlake off to the north. You have Southlake to the east, which again is another destination city where people want to live there, aspire to live there. That's the destination that they want to end in. And same with Colleyville. So when you're looking at this area right here, incredible real estate, beautiful houses, plenty of coffee shops, plenty of recreation scene, plenty of everything that you would want for yourself and your family. This is a phenomenal area to live into. Now, what does that mean? That generally means it's going to be a little bit more expensive than your traditional areas. So if you're looking for a more affordable, yet you want to stay in this area, if you're looking for a more affordable solution when it comes to real estate prices, then you are going to go a little bit south to the North Richland Hills of the world, the Hearst, the HEB area. You're going to find more, you're going to be in a similar area, just not paying those astronomical prices. Now, if you can go over to the west, and then we'll kind of drill down into Keller itself. I'm not trying to unsell you from Keller. Keller is phenomenal. I absolutely would love to be there. So if you were to go off a little bit west, you're going to see a lot of new construction out here. You're going to see a lot of really good opportunities for real estate. In other words, less expensive homes. Here, you can buy new construction for $300,000 to $400,000. Keller, you're not going to find a ton of new construction. And here, you're looking at property being $500,000, $600,000 for homes that you're probably looking at. All right, so let's dig into the Keller property, into Keller real estate, because there's certain things that we need to consider when we're looking at Keller itself, but any other state that you're looking to move into. Number one, you need to look at the commute. What commute do you need? If you're working in downtown Fort Worth, I highly recommend Keller. Keller is one of those places that you're going to have a reasonable commute. You're pretty close to Fort Worth, and it's not going to be too bad, and you get the suburban feel with that type of lifestyle, which kind of brings us to number two. What type of lifestyle are you looking for? Are you looking for those nights out? Are you looking for the hiking trails? Are you looking for a lake lifestyle? In this case, you're not going to see a lot of lake because there's not one, but you can head over to Grapevine Lake and make it a great time. It's not too far off. So the second thing beyond the commute, the second thing to consider is what type of lifestyle are you looking for? What does that community need to look like? And then number three is the cost. What budget do you have? So you saw there the average price point was around the 900,000s, but the true price point, the true average is about 800,000 for Keller. So you're looking at the 3 C's: the commute, the community, and the cost. Those are the 3 C's that you need to answer for yourself, or get as close to answering whenever you're looking to purchase a property, because it'll just shortcut so much of your decision making. It'll make your journey of home buying much less stressful. It'll just help you out overall. Let's dig into some of these properties real quick because we need to get moving. Let's check out the real estate available for us in Keller. So as you see, again, we have 125 homes. We're not going to look at all of them. We're just going to go through a few properties on the lower end, and then we're going to go through a few properties on the higher end, and then we're going to settle somewhere in the middle and do the math on it. We're going to break down, we're going to look at the property as it sits, as if I was, let me rephrase that, as if I was going to purchase this property. I would give you a few observations to make about the property itself, about the data or the details of the property that sometimes we as home buyers kind of miss. So I'm going to give you some of the inside information there. All right, so the least expensive home in the market right now for Keller, Texas is a $200,000 property. This is the least expensive home. This looks a little bit manufactured. Well, no, it has those rafters up there, so it might not be a manufactured home. The least expensive home is $200,000. We're not gonna tour it, so we can let it be. So we have a $200,000 property, which is probably going to be a fixer-upper. Not probably, it will be a fixer-upper based off of what I'm seeing. And then you have 2 homes under $300,000. So here again, when you see reduced and when you see for sure fixer-upper, or it lets you know, hey, this is an investment property. So the reason that they're going for what we're going to call too high here is because, and they have to reduce it, is because of the area that they happen to be in, because they know that the resale value of a property like this that has been updated would be in the 400,000s if it has the updates already applied to it. So we have 3 homes. We're going to call it 3 homes under 300,000, and we're probably going to find a good amount of $300,000 properties, but not a ton. So here we're in the 330s, but right out of the gate, you see that, hey, these properties, they are well maintained. These are properties that you put them anywhere else. These are high quality properties, and these are on the lower end of the market. And when I say lower end of the market, I mean in comparison to Keller as a whole. I don't mean that these are low end properties. By any stretch of the imagination, these are not low end properties. It's just they happen to be on the lower price point in the city of Keller. So right out of the gate, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 10, 12 homes in the 300,000. So if your budget is in the 300,000s, finding a property in Keller is possible. It absolutely is possible, but you do have limitations. So you're not going to have as many options, right? So let's hop into the 400,000s, and then we're gonna skip right onto the luxury department, check out a property there, and then we're gonna go right back into analyzing a property that we're gonna pretend to purchase. All right, so you see a good amount of reduced prices here. So you reduce. That's if you're looking at a buyer, if you're looking at this as a buyer, you're looking at this, you're seeing some opportunities here. So it feels that the market here in this particular area is softening up a bit, or maybe it wasn't as strong as the listing agents and homeowners thought it was, given that they're having to reduce it a little bit. Right, so let's go over to the luxury side of things, and then we're gonna get into an $8 million property. Do y'all want to check out an $8 million property before we get going? We're going to spend maybe 2 minutes here. We're not going to spend a ton of time here, but we want to dream for a quick second. We want to really aspire for more. Hopefully there's a property here that we can check it out, but most of these properties seem to be new construction. So let's see what type of property we have here. An $8 million property in Keller, Texas. It's it doesn't look like it's too big of a house for what it is, but that means that there's probably a ton of acres, and there's 16 acres on this property. Let's check them out, and then we're going to do a breakdown. And let me know in the comment section, would you pay $8 million for this property, assuming that that was what you had? Ooh, look at that, just out of the gate. What a great opening shot right here. So there's the property, and you see a lot of greenery. Beautiful. Okay, this reminds me so much of Augusta. So Augusta National, I'm a golfer, and or I pretend to be a golfer. I'm not really a golfer anymore, but this gives me some Augusta vibes. Oh, and that wraparound porch, I saw it. Oh, I already saw it. Oh, how do I go back? Here we go. You have a man-made lake over there. I'm not sure I would have included this creek as a picture. Okay, you have the drone out. 16 acres, folks. Remember, this is 16 acres. You have an entrance. You have a gated entrance. So you have the little wraparound. Ooh, I'm a sucker for those types of wraparound driveways. And this is the property itself. So here, what you're selling quite a bit. I'm not trying to downplay the property. Ooh, look at this. This is very fixed up at the end and out on the wraparound porch as well. What you're selling here, more than the property, is you're selling the 16 acres, which is massive, especially in this part of town. So you have very updated windows here. I did see plantation shutters inside, so that those are really cool. It looks like it's pretty new siding. How about that view, huh? How about that view? I could drink some mad coffee there. I would drink gallons of coffee if that was my view, right? All right, so we have the hardwood, of course, in a property like this. I do like, the black rails here. That's just a nice touch. And then you put the white, what do you call those? Just the white contrast. It's incredible. All right, so you have your dining room here. What year is this property? 1997. Really? Okay, I would have thought it was a little bit older. Okay, not bad. All right, so you can sit here next to the windowsill. That's a nice touch. I like that they added that. Super grand fireplace. Wow. All right, so we're gonna click through very quickly. I'm gonna shut up for a quick second, Beautiful kitchen, huge kitchen. High-end stainless appliances and everything. So you have an open kitchen right into the living room and into the breakfast nook. On these, I'll have to say this once again. With when you're looking at these stove tops, these stove ranges, anytime you do that stonework around there or that block work around there, oof, oof. That's a theme, right? You have that throughout. So this is another fireplace. So you're looking at two fireplaces already. This is a primary bedroom from what I can see. So you have your little sitting area. As soon as you wake up, you can sit out here, or you can go outside and sit outside. And this is bedroom number 1. So I think this one had 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. So this is going to be bedroom number 3 and bedroom number 4, and then a theater room. Now we do see some. We had a little leak up here. I personally would have possibly painted that before we got it to market, but nobody's perfect. All right, so that was beautiful. Let's go back and look at a property that we're actually going to purchase. Let's go through this full breakdown of a home that we want to actually purchase. All right, so let's see here. Which home do we want to go with? Which home will it be? This one looks a bit purchase-y, and this one's been reduced. You know what? We're going to buy this property on Eagle Court in Keller. Let's look at the details and let's purchase it. All right, so let's first look at the details so we know what type of property we're looking at, and then we're going to get right into it. We don't see a ton on the description. I don't know if this is overconfidence. I don't know if this is I almost respect it. You know what? I do respect it. Just straight to the point. Let's see. Beautiful home with a wonderful curb appeal, cascading staircase, wood floors and family room, lovely private study area with French doors. The kitchen has an open concept to the breakfast nook, and the back room, which is perfect for hosting. All right, respect. Respect. We said what we needed to say. I would have at least thrown it on ChatGPT and made it a little bit longer to at least fill some minimums, but everyone has their own strategy. So this property is in Tarrant County. So we have Tarrant County property taxes, which we'll get into here shortly. Of course, this is in Keller. This is what we're looking at. The year built was 1998. So this lets us know that it's a 26-year-old property. 26-year-old property. So at this point, we're probably working on the second water heater, if not the third, and we're also working on the most likely the second HVAC unit. And in this case, multiple HVAC units, because this is 3,300 square foot. Yeah, we're gonna need 2 units. Taxes, don't get married to this number. I know this might feel a little bit high already, but don't get married to this number. Taxes, these are the ones that the present homeowner is paying. This does not mean these are the property taxes that you're going to be paying. So with the tax number, it's good to see it here because it lets you know how much they have been paying. But at the end of the day, don't get married to this, because this is not going to be the one that you receive. I can guarantee you that. Given that you're going to have different exemptions, most likely, and then also you're going to be receiving a different assessed value, which we'll talk about when we're covering property taxes. So take mental note of this. Take this $12,000 mental note. Know that that's not going to be ultimately what you're going to be paying, and I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to beat around the bush. You're probably going to be paying more. Don't get mad. Just realize that that's probably what's going to happen. But we'll look at the exact number here shortly. Price, $750,000 is this property that we're looking at. 4 bedrooms, 4 full baths. So I like that. We're not looking at partials. Everything's going to have its sink. Everything's going to have its toilet, and everything is going to have its shower and or tub. 3340. So we're looking at 3,340. So this is on a single story, no? Yeah, it's a single story, which means that you're going to be on a larger lot. You're looking at 1/5 of an acre. A more standard lot these days is 1/8 of an acre, which is 0.125 acres at this point. However, you have what some builders call oversized, so 1/5 of an acre, which is really, really good, especially since we're talking about Keller. Now the general features, this is going to be something that we're going to see when we look at the property itself, so we're not going to worry too much about it. What we do want to look at is the association fees. In other words, what is our HOA going to cost? And it's $680. Now $680 is reasonable for the yearly. It's also reasonable for if it was biannually, meaning that you pay it every 6 months. But we'll see. This should call it out here as we continue scrolling. But for our purposes today, let's just assume it's $680 in HOA fees per year. So you have a 2-car garage, Keller ISD. That's going to be important for us as we calculate our property taxes. We already saw that it was $19.98. Levels 2. Okay, so I didn't see this as a 2. There might be either entertainment room, a landing area upstairs. Something's going on upstairs if they say that there's two stories here, but we'll look at that. All right, so let's see here. Tarrant County, we knew that. Association fee is annually, so yeah, that $680 is going to be assessed every year. It's not biannually, which is good for us. Keller, cool. All right, so this is all the information that we're going to need at this present time. We have enough for us to kind of check out the property so we can visually see if this is ultimately the house that we want to purchase. So let's look at the property, and I'll give you a few indicators or a few suggestions as we go through, as I see them, right? So I want to share it. I want to share it from the point of view perspective, like from first person point of view perspective, giving you some ideas as you're going out and seeing properties for yourself. Right out of the gate, I see it's very well maintained. Now, the fact that it's an HOA, that kind of already gave me a clue that it probably was going to be reasonably maintained from the outside. So we see moderate landscaping, or pretty good landscaping, in the sense that there's some additional landscaping. You don't see just 2 or 3 brushes or shrubs. So here you do have a good amount of landscaping, and it's been very well maintained, so that's a good sign. Now, I know that sounds a little trivial, that sounds a little bit vain, that sounds a little bit judgy, but at the end of the day, these small clues let you know about the bigger things, right? So these small cues gives you insight into what the larger things could be. So I'll give you an example. If you're coming into a property and you see that, the small stuff does not look in order, looks out of place, looks a little bit mistreated. It kind of gives you an idea of, well, if the small stuff wasn't taken care of, I wonder what the water heater, how the water heater was treated. I wonder if the HVAC has ever seen a new air filter. I wonder if the X, Y, and Z was ever taken care of, right? So it gives you some insight into what it could potentially potential issues that you might be inheriting after you purchase that property. So again, the small things are small cues into the larger things. So that's the reason I'm calling these things out. All right, so you have that swing around garage. Not everybody likes this. Not everybody likes being able to park up front. I personally don't mind, but I also don't favor it. So you have it's not for everybody. So it's a matter of preference. What I do like is you have plenty of windows here, which, based off of its direction, I wonder if this is facing to the west, based off of the sun. Now, I'm no geoguesser, but I'm just making some assumptions. Now, the reason I bring that up is because if this is facing the west, that means it's going to sunset over there. The sun is going to set, and it's going to bring a heck of a lot of sun on this. So I would probably put some screens to help me with managing some of that evening heat, especially right now in the summer. All right, so as we enter, we see a lot of baby blue. A lot of individuals, let me rephrase that. As you're coming in, the baby blue, maybe not everybody's into it, right? So right now, you could be seeing this as oh crap, I have to paint the entire thing. Some of you may be thinking, hey, they painted the house for me already, I'm good to go. Now we have tile floor. Now that tile floor is original, so there was no updates on that. And then here you have some, what's this? Is this upstairs? This might be upstairs. Again, I didn't see a second floor, but it exists. I mean, we have this, I guess it exists in the back end. So I don't know where this room is at, but this looks to be like an office. This is an office. All right, so you have another bedroom, which this might be the same room. This is your living room. So okay, so the door's over here. We entered through here, and now over here is our kind of like our living area, and then our dining area is right here. How do I know? Well, because of the hanging chandelier, that kind of gives it away. Now, some of the updates that I can tell you that some of our clients would probably already suggest would be updating the flooring, just giving you kind of some ideas of what we're looking at. This is the primary bedroom, pretty sizable. This is a king. This might be a California king. This is a massive. This is a massive bed. So it's a huge room. You have another bedroom over here, and then another bedroom over here. All right, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you. One of the things that is a big. This sounds so trivial, and I don't want to sound so judgy here, but whenever you're putting a property out to, at least the way that we do it, whenever we put a property out to market and we upload pictures, we make sure that it flows and it makes sense. We're telling a story through the pictures, so our viewers, the people like you, people that are looking at properties, they don't have to guess where this is. They don't have to guess what this is. It kind of tells the story, right? So for whenever we're clicking on pictures to go from the outside to a random bedroom and then to the kitchen and another random bedroom, that isn't really it doesn't provide the best user experience. So that one thing alone could be off-putting to people, because if you're having to figure out a lot of different things and make a lot of different assumptions that could have been very easily addressed through a simple picture, and organizing the pictures, it makes a world of difference. Now I know that sounds nitpicky. I know I don't want to be an armchair quarterback, but these are the things that are going through my mind. These are the things that I coach our agents on. We have over 200 agents across the country, and these are the things that just make the small things make a huge difference. Now you do see, now that is a little bit worn out, so I'm gonna guess that there was a couch right here, and people like to traffic over here on the back. But you do have hardwood floors here in the living room. See what I mean? Like this would have been good as the third or fourth image. This would have been good right there. So we're here in the kitchen. We've already been into some other rooms. We don't necessarily know where those rooms are, but we've been there. And then you have basically the entire back wall is full of windows. And I feel like these are probably original windows since 1998. So 26-year-old windows. All right, so this is bathroom 1. So again, the entrance is here. Okay, so what we saw over here with the office, this was off to the left. So this picture could have been very helpful for that. So you have right into the staircase, and then you go through, you have the living room, and then the kitchen off to the far right. All right, so this is telling a little bit more of the story. I like that. Now I would move these pictures. If I was the listing agent on this, I would move them to the front. I know it sounds picky. I know it sounds obnoxious. I'm hearing myself talk. However, this is the point of this exercise. This is the point of me showing how we actually look at properties. The bathroom is as it was built in 1998. You have the original faucets, you have the original countertops, you have the original everything. So depending on the style, there might be an opportunity for you to come in here and update it a little bit more to if you have more of an updated style or more of a modern style. Now this, I'm not so sure this was, actually I am sure that this was added later. This is not an original. This was updated later, because in 1998, I think is when the property was built, they weren't building them like this. So this was more plastic, or more plastic than anything. It didn't have the glass that you see here and the build out that you have here. Now one of the critiques is going to be that the tile really wasn't it either didn't differentiate itself too much from the tile on the floor, and or it didn't match itself close enough. So it kind of went into the middle and it stands out a little bit more. So that would be a critique. Check it out. Bum, bum, bum. Oh, okay, now I'm not being cool. Now I'm not being cool. I need to stop. All right, so this really hid well. The second floor really hid well. It's got a lot more things than I thought. So I'm seeing a bedroom here, a landing area right where the picture was taken. This is a bed. No. This is either. No, this is a bathroom. I can already tell. And over here is another bedroom. So it appears to be 2 bedrooms upstairs. Yeah, this hides it quite well. Oh, I like that backyard. Oof. I get out pergolas. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of pergolas. This is built a little bit different. It's almost like layered. And I'm not so sure this is an AI. Yeah. There's a little bit of AI grass. So when you go there, it's not going to be as AI'd. Now, I'm only seeing 1 unit, which is weird. How does this only have 1 unit? It's too big of a house, and if you're looking for a 2-story, this is not a 1 unit house. But they would both be here, unless I'm just missing it. Interesting. Big lot, big home, beautiful home, incredible home. Awesome. Let's buy it. Let's buy it. All right, so what are we offering for this property? We're offering $750. Now, as you're coming in, a like is going to go a long way, and also feel free to ask any questions as we get going. It's a little bit lonesome just talking for a living. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop them in the chat. Always happy to address them as you're going through your home journey as well. All right. Let me check this real quick. All right, let's buy this Keller house. All right, we're going to use exact amounts. Now, this Loan Clarity Advisor, this is linked down below. This is something that you have access to. This was created by Win the House You Love, which is a partner channel of ours. Incredible creator, Kyle Seagraves, created this tool. We use this tool in-house with all of our clients. We do discovery calls with the exact same tool that you're seeing. This is the exact same tool that you have access to. And if you just go to winthehouseyoulove.com, you're also going to see this Loan Clarity Advisor there as well. So make sure that you grab it to be able to make financial decisions when it comes to real estate so much faster, and I would argue much better decisions. I'm not questioning your judgment. I'm just really highlighting the effectiveness of this tool because it's the one that we use in-house. It's really there's nothing else on the market like this. All right, so for our scenario, we're going to use exact amounts to calculate our taxes and insurance. It's going to be a great learning opportunity for us as we get into the city of Keller and understand it a little bit more. Since we're buying this house for $750,000, we want to get the monthly property tax as close to possible to the exact amount. So here we see what the previous homeowner was paying, which again is going to be different than what you're going to be paying. So what we need to do first is we need to find what is Keller, Texas property tax rate. We're going to go directly to the website to see what percentage we're going to be working with, because that's going to really dictate a lot. Now, when you go here, you're going to want to go to their city website first, so cityofkeller.com, to see if they give us that information, because if they don't, we're going to need to go and find this information in the county website if they make it a little bit too challenging for us. And I can already see them. Oh, spoke too soon. They included it. Good for them. Good for them. Awesome. All right, so let's talk about property taxes, what they mean, what they are, and how the heck to calculate them. Here we go. When it comes to property taxes, understand a few key things. Number one, with property taxes, you are paying property taxes when you purchase a property. So whenever you purchase a property, that's when your introduction to property taxes begins. So you're going to be paying property taxes. Number two, in Texas, you have some of the highest property tax rates in the country. In fact, it's number 6. So that means that there's 5 other states out there that have higher property taxes. The number 1 ranked right now is New Jersey. So New Jersey has the highest property tax rate in the country. So that's something else to understand. You have property taxes are a big deal in Texas, is another way of saying that. And the third thing to understand about property taxes is here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, you're looking for at least up to 5 property tax rates. So up to 5 numbers. So that's going to be 1 is going to be your city tax rate. 2 is going to be your county tax rate. 3 is going to be your ISD tax rate. These 3 are going to exist in every single city in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. The city, the county, the ISD. These 3 numbers we need to find because they exist. You just have to find them. And not all cities make it as easy as Keller just did to us today. Now, 2 additional tax rates that sometimes show up, not all the time, but it can potentially show up, is the higher education, so think of community college, or the hospital network tax. So think of, if you're in Fort Worth, think of if we're talking about Fort Worth, JPS, John Peter Smith Health Network, right? So 3 for sure, city, county, ISD, these 3 numbers we need, and then potentially higher education and or the hospital network. So these are up to 5 numbers that we're looking for, and Keller happens to have all 5. You see the city rate, you see the ISD rate, you see the county rate, and then those other 2, the higher education, so you have the college district, and then the hospital district. So you're looking at these 5 numbers all together, and it gives you a tax rate of 1.9, we're going to call it 1.91. In the grand scheme of things, just to give you some perspective, in the grand scheme of things, this is among the lowest property tax rates that you're going to find across the entire DFW Metroplex. This is among the lowest. So the lowest property tax rates around in DFW are 1.8 or so, up to about 3%. So that's the range, and this is below 2%. It's rare that you get cities, especially this far into the Metroplex, that have this such low property tax rate. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the math now. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to calculate it based off of the property tax rate. That is, we're gonna calculate it based off of the purchase price, which is gonna give us a conservative value, a conservative number, which is another way of saying that this property tax number that we're gonna get to is actually gonna be a little bit higher than what you're actually gonna pay, so we can give you a conservative amount, which is gonna be pretty realistic. All right, so since we know the property tax rate is 1.91, we're gonna put 0.0191. That's our tax rate since we're getting ready to calculate this. And we're going to multiply that times $750,000. Now this is again the market value. This is what we're assuming the market is for this property. You're going to be taxed on what's called the assessed value, which is less. And based off of the market value and our estimates that we're doing, your property taxes are going to be roughly $14,325. This is higher. Again, this is higher than what you're actually going to be paying. I would estimate that you're probably going to be paying $13,500 or so. But I want to give you a conservative number. Now let's go back to what I mentioned originally. Don't get married to this number because as you can see on the high end, you're probably going to be paying $14,000, right? So what we're going to do now is we're going to divide this by 12. So 12 months in a year. So this means our monthly property tax is 1193. What happened? 93. This is the amount just in property taxes. This is how big of a deal it is. This is just going to property taxes every single year. And now I know, like, especially when I visit with our clients from California that are coming in, they get sticker shocked when they hear this, and I don't blame them. Again, this is higher property tax state. The trade-off. Don't mishear me. I love Texas. I have multiple properties in Texas. I'm not moving away from Texas. Texas is my place. This is a trade-off for not having state income tax, right? All right, so let's continue. Let's go into the monthly homeowners insurance. How do we calculate that? That one we just essentially use just some norms, maybe more like a, let's call it more like an equation, if you will. We multiply the home value of, so the value of the home, we multiply it by 0.75%. That's a reasonable estimate on what your mortgage, your homeowner's insurance is going to be. So the premiums that you're paying. So since it's 0.75%, so it's less than 1%, we need to put 0.0075. That's how you do 0.75%. 0.0075 times 750,000. That gives us 56.25 in yearly premiums. So we're going to divide that by 12, and we're going to get 46875. That is our monthly homeowners insurance estimate. That's what we're estimating the monthly premiums to be. Now, if this is too much, if you're deathly allergic to the calculator, I don't blame you. Just move this from exact amounts to estimates. It'll do the math for you. So that way you know. So here you would put in you would try to get as close to 1 point, what did I say? What's the property taxes here? 1.9. So get as close as possible to 1.9%, and it would be presented in percentage. And here, get as close to the 0.75%, which actually starts off at that. So you don't really have to move anything. Now with the HOA, I think we said it was 625 or 80, 680. So we're going to take that 680 divided by 12, and we're going to put $57. That's our monthly HOA. All right. So if there's any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Right now, we're going to get into the loan options that we have to purchase this house in Keller. Again, we are finding that perfect house in Keller. We have to keep the three things in mind: the community, and the cost. So those are three things to consider before you actually go into Keller. We just went through and reviewed a few properties in Keller itself, and we did a deep dive on one that we're actually looking to purchase, which would be this one, valued at $750,000, and we're assuming that that's what we're going to ultimately offer. So for our purposes today, we're going to finance ourselves in three different ways to give us three different options, so you can visually see what the cost and the pros and cons would be. How do I spell conventional? With the financing. All right, so let's talk about this. For our scenario today, we're going to try to finance ourselves in a conventional 5%, which is one of the most common down payments that we get here with our clients. FHA, we're going to also go 5%. And then we're going to give ourselves, we're going to go back to a conventional loan, but this time we're going to say it's 20% down. All right, so if we get a conventional loan, the minimum down payment for a conventional would be 3%. So that's the least that you can come to the table with from a down payment. If we were to get an FHA loan, the minimum down payment there is 3.5%. Now, if we were to get a conventional 20%, well, that's 20%. The reason that I'm giving us the 20% benchmark here is because there's a myth out there that you need 20% down to purchase a property. That is not a thing. The reason that the 20% just number comes and resonates in every single conversation is because, think of it, that's more like a benchmark. If you put less than 20% down in the purchase of your home, if you have a conventional or an FHA loan, either one of these loans, you're paying what's called mortgage insurance. Mortgage insurance is what the lender takes out on you in the event that you default on that property. So it's essentially you paying an additional fee or an additional percentage for not having put 20% down. All right, so it's another, think of it as another fee, another expense, another super tiny mortgage, if you will. Whatever, however you want to see it, you're paying more every single month. Now, is that forever? Well, if you get a conventional loan, the moment that you surpass 20% owner equity in your home, meaning that you own over 20% of your home here after 10 years or so, then that mortgage insurance goes away. And I'm going to give you the numbers on how much that ultimately amounts to through the life of the loan. in this particular tool. Now with an FHA loan, so here again, you put 5% down. Because we didn't put 20% down, we're paying that mortgage insurance as well. However, with FHA, that never goes away. With an FHA loan, you're paying that mortgage insurance forever and for always until you either pay off that loan, refinance into another loan, or you sell that property. Those are the only three ways to get rid of the mortgage insurance, through an FHA loan. All right, so let's go into the interest rate. What interest rate do we have? Right now we're doing a fixed rate. That's what we're assuming is happening. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to what is the interest rate for buying a house, and we're going to go to bank rate. So this is me just going directly to Google and finding out what's going on. And at the time of this recording, the interest rate is 6.73%. Now this changes hourly. I went live about an hour and a half ago, and this was 6.4. So it changes hourly. So when you're watching this a week from now, a year from now, that's why it's important that you come in here and get as updated information as possible, because it's going to be changing. So we're going to say this is 6.73. We're going to say this is 6.73. And we're going to say that this is 6.73. Now I'll give you the reality of the situation. If you get a conventional, an FHA, and then a conventional again with 20% down, if you price shop these, the interest rate is going to be different on all three products. This is generally going to be a little bit more. This is going to be generally a little bit less, and it's going to be generally a little bit less than even this. But we're going to stay straight fixed. Just giving you kind of the reality of the situation, just so you have an idea why. The reason I call that out is because I want you to play around with these calculators as you are shopping for your loan. So once you get your quote from Chase Bank and your quote from Cross Country Mortgage or Allied First Bank or whatever the case may be, put their numbers in here and then see truly what the cost of the loan is going to be, because it's going to give you this information. All right, so the market right now is telling us that we could probably get financed for 6.73%. That's what the market is telling us right now. So we have the option of buying down this interest rate, which is, in other words, buying points. That's what points means. Whenever we buy down our interest rate, we're buying points. Now, when you buy a point, to give you an idea of what that would mean, when you're buying a point, you're buying essentially like 0.25%. You're not buying an entire percentage point. So when you buy 1 point, don't think that it's going to go to 5.73. It doesn't work that way. You're buying, think of probably like a fourth. So here, this would come down to like a 6.5% or so. Now it varies, just giving you some ballpark so you can start budgeting appropriately. Now, what's that expense? What does it cost to buy a point? Well, to buy 1 point, you're taking 1% of the value of that loan. So if it's a $700,000 loan, you're paying $7,000 for that point. So that's what it would cost you here. So that's what you would put. Now, this is something you're going to go over with your lender. So make sure that you ask them about points in the event that if they haven't brought it up first. But that's how you're buying down the interest rate. So that interest rate, remember, since it's fixed, it's for the life of that loan. So while it may cost you to buy down that point of $7,000 right now, the savings that you would get per month might be worth it. There's a break-even point. Like usually, if you're, general rule of thumb, if you're trying to buy down points, you want to make your money back within the first 3 years of buying down that point. Now, if you get it within 2 years, awesome. If you get it within a year, that's unheard of. That's just super rare, if not impossible. But that's what you're talking about when buying down interest rates, which is another way. I don't necessarily know how accurate this is, but in my opinion, it's another way of saying prepaying interest. You're buying down points, you're prepaying interest is all you're doing. But with that being said, it can be valuable. I have bought points, I've bought points, I won't say in all my property purchases. Maybe with the exception of my first house, because I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything when I was buying my first house. But after that, I learned a few things, and I do think that I purchased points in all the other purchases, and I've purchased 6 properties at this point. Lender fees. Lender fees, I'm going to let you fill that in, but generally with lender fees, give yourself at least 1%, if not 2% just to factor in. Well, no, since we're just talking about the lenders, we're not talking about the title work. Just give yourself some grace here. Now, when it comes to lender fees, though, shop those around again. So that's why this calculator exists, so you can put in these percentages and these numbers based off of the numbers that you've gotten quoted by your lender. All right, monthly mortgage insurance. This goes back to us not having put 20% down on the purchase of the home. This will exist on our conventional loan, on paper for about 10 years for our conventional, and then for FHA, it's going to stay with us forever until we either pay off that property, pay off that loan, refinance, or sell the property. But you'll see that here in a little bit. Extra payments. If you want to commit more to paying down the principal so you can get through the loan quicker, absolutely do that here. Just add those payments here. If you want to do lump sums to make these simulations work for you, this is the tool to do that. All right, so what we like to do is we want to show you visually what the cost of these loans would be, so what the expense would end up being. So after 10 years, you see that if you would have gone 20% down conventional, you would have saved $124,000 when you compare it to the FHA 5%. Now, here's the reality of the situation, and check out the graph. It's eye-opening. Now, here's the reality of the situation. I recognize that not everybody has $150,000 to put down. I recognize. I mean, that's challenging for a lot of folks. So if you're not in a position to put 20% down, then you're not in a position to put 20% down. You have options. You can buy a property for as little as 3% down through a conventional, or 3.5 on the FHA front. So here, if you have the option, if you have the ability to put 20% down, then you still have the option of, hey, do I want to commit those additional $150,000 to this particular loan? So you have that option, right? So here is, one, are you able to, and two, are you willing? That's really the conversation that you would have here on paper. Just so you see, you do save a significant amount of money. Now, if you go to the full 30 years on that, you save a significant amount in the life of this loan. So you see how much less you would be paying versus over here on just the cost of the loan, the interest and everything that that you would be paying on that loan, right? So this goes out into however many years into the future you want. So just have that visual in mind. Now, the only thing I want to show here, and when it comes to the loan breakdown, because you see the graph up here, one thing that I wanted to call out is the big difference between monthly mortgage insurance over those 30 years. Remember, conventional, eventually you drop off that mortgage insurance. So here, $42,000 is what you paid in mortgage insurance because you didn't put 20% down. Now, here's where that distinction, we kind of have to, hopefully I do a good enough job of representing this, and because I feel like I haven't in the past several videos. So here, goes back to that conversation that we were just having of 20% down. For me to pay for me to be able to come up with $150,000 is a hell of a task for anybody. Well, if I can get into this property for $37,500, because we're buying a $750,000 property, if I can get into this property for this amount, well, heck, even if the entire life of this loan, like I would be paying $42,000 in that mortgage insurance. So because I didn't put 20% down. So even if I had that 42 plus this, you're looking at $79,000 over 30 years, as opposed to coming up out of pocket $150,000 on day one. Right? So just from the math perspective, paying mortgage insurance is not the end of the world. I know sometimes we realtors kind of see it that way, and we're like, well, put 20% down. Well, no, dummy. Like if it's gonna stretch you, and if it's gonna, like, it's not possible, then what are we talking about? Anyway, so this, I did a terrible job of explaining that. But here, what I really wanted to illustrate was that whole monthly mortgage insurance and what it would mean in conventional 5% down. But also FHA, remember, that doesn't go away. So you would be paying $70,000 in mortgage insurance. On top of that, you'd be paying 1.725 in finance mortgage, which is an FHA expense or an FHA fee here. Now we're talking about through the 30 years. So just as a heads up. So when you're looking at the cost of the loan overall after the 30 years is all said and done, conventional 5% would have cost you almost $1 million. FHA would have cost you north of $1 million, and then conventional 20% would have cost you just shy of $800,000. Right. So when you're looking at the cost of finance, the cost that it ultimately took for you to purchase. All right, so let's talk about monthly payment. Let's start off with 1 year, and then we'll go into the future so you see what that looks like. Your monthly mortgage payment, year one, is going to be roughly $6,687 if you get a conventional 5% down, $6,707 if you get FHA 5% down, and $5,602 if you go 20% down conventional. Now, one of the commonalities that you're going to see between all three scenarios is that such little goes into your principal and so much goes to your interest. It almost feels like water in a desert, like just a drop of water in the desert when it comes to the little amount of principal that goes into the desert of interest. Now this is year one. Now this will eventually change. I'll show you that in the amortization table. So for the first several years, you're going to see that so much goes to pay down the interest of your payment, and such little goes down to the principal to pay down the loan. So here, regardless if it's conventional or FHA, you're going to see the amount be the same in terms of the situation be the same, where such little goes into principal and so much goes into interest at the beginning of your loan. As you continue making payments into your loan, you're going to see this amount be the same, which is the principal plus interest, but you're going to start seeing so much more go into your principal and then less and less going into your interest. That way, eventually you have that tipping point where you're paying more into the principal and less into the interest. So essentially they're front loading the interest is essentially another way. It's essentially what's happening. They're front loading the interest in the first several years. So just be mindful of that. All right, so taxes goes back into the property tax situation, and why we need to be very mindful of that. Homeowners insurance, you're looking at the estimated premium per month. Mortgage insurance, remember, since we didn't put 5% down on this particular two scenarios, we're paying mortgage insurance both on conventional and FHA. And then the HOA, we included here, even though technically it's not part of your mortgage payment. You pay that at the beginning of the year through an invoice. But let's go into the future. Let's go into year 14 as an example. At that point, your total monthly payment has gone down slightly, but then also take note that your mortgage insurance is no longer there through a conventional loan. So as mentioned, this eventually falls off. And I'll show you the exact break even, or the exact moment that it falls off through the life of the loan from on paper. So from a math perspective, not from a reality perspective, because the calculation that you're going to see doesn't factor in appreciation here shortly. Equity at any point in time, you're going to be able to see how much of the property you own. So let's just say in 19 years, how much of the home do I owe? Well, or do I own? If you had a conventional 5% down, in 19 years, you own 43% of it. FHA, 42% of it. Conventional, 20%. Now you're thinking, well, hell, there's 11 years left. So let's make this a true comparison. So there's 10 years left. How is it that I don't even have 50% ownership of this dang property? Well, it goes back to the amortization, right? Goes back to, at that point, what's 20 times 12? That's 240. At that point, you're right around this pay cycle. And you're just now, like on this payment right here, just now, like 2 payments before, just now you started paying more in principal than interest. So that's why you only owe less than 50% after 20 years. It's going to really start accelerating in the past 10 years, in the next 10 years, because you're paying more towards principal. That's when you own the property more and more. So that's what It's not the calculation is wrong. It's just that finance is wrong. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, it doesn't feel good knowing that after 20 years, you still only own less than 50% in both of these scenarios, and just barely in the conventional 20%. That seems a little bit sus, as the kids say. Loan details. The only thing I want to share here is that mortgage insurance, when it falls off here in about 11 years, or just shy of 11 years, your conventional 5% down, you eventually get rid of that mortgage insurance just from paper, like just from on paper. And what I mean by that is I'm not factoring in appreciation in this particular countdown, because that would mean if you're in an area of high appreciation, your mortgage insurance can drop off in 6 to 8 years. That's how fast it can go. Selling and appreciation. So this is really one of the coolest features of this tool. So make sure that you go down and check it out. It's in the description. If not, just go to winthehouseyoulove.com and get the tools there. This is the exact same Loan Clarity Advisor tool that I have our agents use in-house. So you can make this same calculations that you're seeing on the screen. This is one of the most useful parts of the tool because it gives us so much information about what the difference would be between renting and buying, and also our exit strategy. So let's assume we want to buy this house, but let's just say what if I want to sell it in 10 years, right? So on average, homeowners stay in their home for about 8 to 9 years. So on average, that's about right. Let's just say in 10 years, you want to sell and go and buy another property. What will that mean for you? Well, you can make that calculation today with a few assumptions. Let's just say that the home appreciates a modest 3%. That's very reasonable per year. So we're going to say that our home is going to appreciate, it's going to grow in value by 3%. Our cost to sell, we're going to leave it at 6%. That's going to factor in commissions that you might be paying an agent. That's going to factor in title work. It's going to factor in maybe a bit of upgrading that you might want to do before you sell. And that's going to be the cost to sell. It's going to cost me 6% to sell this house. Tax increase per year. Property taxes are going to increase. That's just the reality. Even if prices stay a little bit where they're at and or drop slightly, we know that real estate is cyclical. So as real estate prices continue to rise, we're just going to assume that our property tax rate is your property taxes are going to increase per year. So we're going to say, hey, they're going to increase by 3%. Insurance, we also know that it costs more to build now. And we know that our home insurance premiums continue to go higher and higher. So we're going to also assume that our homeowner's insurance is going to rise. These are the assumptions that we're making, and they're very reasonable, very rational. I'm not overshooting or undershooting here. These are just very, very conservative. These are reasonable assumptions to make. If you want to go to the extremes, make sure you max out the calculator one way or the other so you get that breakdown. Which means that after 10 years, if we were to go and try to sell, it would have cost us $526,000 of living, basically. So in 10 years, our housing expense would have been $526,000 in this property. We gained $257,000 in appreciation, meaning we benefited from that appreciation. So this is a positive number. It cost us this to sell, so this is a negative number. The loan cost us this amount, so it's a negative number. The property taxes that we paid is a negative number, of course, every year that we paid it. Homeowners insurance, same thing, every year that we paid it. And HOA every year that we paid it. So we're taking all the negatives and the positive, and our housing costs ended up being $526,000 for a conventional 5% down. Through an FHA, it cost us $540. Through a conventional, it cost us $415. That was our housing cost for 10 years. Now, when you compare it to a rental payment per month on a similar property, that rental payment could be $53.75. This is just a guesstimate. With an annual increase of 3%, which is very reasonable, it would cost you $601,000 to live in this similar style house. right? So when you're looking at the true cost, the true benefit of ownership, and also the cost of renting, you're able to weigh those numbers to the best of your ability using this tool. So again, I highly encourage you to go and check it out down in the description, or just go to Win the House You Love, which is our was created by our good friend Kyle Seagraves. This is a breakdown that we do with all of our clients. Now, this is all based off of the Keller home that we just purchased. We went into so many different aspects of purchasing a house. We went into the three things to consider. We talked about the commute. We talked about the community. We talked about the cost. And then we did a breakdown on a specific home. So in this particular case, it was this one, the $750,000, and went into different financing options with the sole purpose of finding that perfect house in Keller. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know in the comment section down below. If you want to see another city broken down in this same way, also drop in the comment section the city that you would like to see. And if we can help you with buying or selling in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, we have agents everywhere that are ready to support you. So just make sure to schedule our either reach out to us with our information down below, or schedule a discovery call, which the link is down in the description. Outside of that, I'll see you on the next one. Thanks so much. Bye.